Well, it's brilliant, to be honest. I mean, all the coaches are really supportive, and the skills you learn, well, I would say they're extraordinary.
I've also had the chance to make lots of new friends, and it's been really good. And also, I've been able to improve my knowledge of the sport, and coaching's just even better because you get to help people improve on there.
We used to be based at a leisure centre, but our relationship there with the leisure centre wasn't great, and ultimately we decided to look for somewhere else to train because we were having problems with accessing training facilities, with the amount of storage space that we've got, and just generally the uncertainty of whether we'd have anywhere to train in the future. So we looked into how much it would cost us to raise our funding for our own facility, and ultimately that's what we ended up doing when we found this place. It used to be around about £14,000 a year. The rent initially on this place was £19,000, but obviously there's bills to pay as well. But we could train 24/7 if we wanted to, so the possibility of making more money to cover those costs made it a very viable option. It was really difficult because there were limited times that we could train. We used to have a big storage area, but then they needed it for other things, so they chopped that in half and we had to try and cram all our equipment. And then finally, the thing that made it really difficult was they put an aerobics class right next to our gym session on the Saturday morning. And it was so noisy and so loud, the children couldn't hear us, and it just became a bit of a safety issue really, because the children couldn't hear what we were saying. So we've gone from having 30 to almost 250 now in the last 4 years. We used to take gymnasts from 5 to 15. Recently that's extended, and now we have children from age 4 all the way up to adult members as well. The boys group we had didn't start off as a boys group, it was just an over 8s class that had a couple of boys in it, and then we had some free runners come in, or they call themselves free runners, who wanted to learn more tricks as they call them. Inspired Facilities grant, we're getting almost £50,000 exactly, and we're contributing money to that as well. And we've also got a contribution in kind from our local tradesman who's doing the work at cost value rather than for his usual rates. So the overall project value was £65,000, and with that we are building a new changing room, we're refurbishing our toilets, we're getting a new spectators area on top of our changing room so that the parents can stay and watch, and we're getting a tumble track, and we're also getting a full-size sprung floor. We're hoping that we will invite at least 25 kids straight in from our waiting list. We're also starting a new tumbling class almost straight away as soon as the stuff's in. We've got lots of people interested in that who've inquired on our website, and we're also planning on doing a gym fit class because we have some kids who want to come here predominantly to get fit. We're always looking at funding opportunities, and we had an email from the Black Country Sports Development Officer about a funding clinic that they were running over at the local university campus, and I went over there and spoke to our local sports development officer, and she gave me some tips about how the best way to apply was, and tips for being successful, of how she thought we could make a successful application. I think the biggest thing is to do with the financial aspects and the business side of things running the club. Obviously when we moved here it was quite a small affair, and we've kind of learnt as we've gone along really, but there's lots of aspects about the legal side of things and the financial side of things to do with business rates and things like that that none of us are particularly familiar with. If we could have some sort of business mentoring, that would be quite useful. A big limitation that we have at the moment is that when we moved here we had to get change of use planning permission, and because of the fact that we're an industrial unit in an industrial area, the planning permission was granted but only so that we could open during the evenings and at weekends. So obviously that we managed with that, but if we could open it during the day we'd be able to open up to schools, we'd be able to get preschool activities and things like that, and it would just open it up to make it a more wider community project really. That would be great. At the moment all of our coaches are volunteers, we all work unpaid completely. Potentially if we could evolve this into being more of a business that opened all the time, then we could potentially employ somebody, we could look at developing our coaches more, we could just improve everything really.